In 1870, the Secretary of the English Football Association made a public challenge to Scottish players, a series of matches between the two nations' best players that introduced the world of international soccer. Since then, over 200 countries, many of which no longer exist, have contested games around the world. But as the global game let the world see themselves on the pitch, those on an island nation in the Pacific have been relegated to spectator status, on the outside looking in to the beautiful game in its most beautiful form. That is, until right now. Welcome to the 2025 Outrigger Challenge Cup and the debut of the Marshall Islands men's national soccer team. Hello and Yakwe to Jarrell Williams Bulldog Stadium alongside Carter Henson. Ben Curtis here with you. It is a singular honor and pleasure to bring to you history in the making. Carter, is not all that often anymore that much happens for the first time in sport. We look back on history to the 10th, the 20th, the 50th, the 100th anniversaries of great milestones, but rarely do we get to live these milestones in real time. And that is exactly what we get to do right now as the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation plays its first ever match here in Springdale, Arkansas.
Ben, I got chills just from your intro there, my friend. What an introduction, and what a way to introduce the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation to the world. I'm just so excited to just be here, to just be able to just be a spectator in this historic moment. A very proud nation with a huge contingency here in Springdale, Arkansas. So there are a lot of them. The crowd is continuing to trickle in. We see the Marshallese flags already waving down below here at historic Jarrell Williams Bulldog Stadium. And Ben, just what an event, what a moment, and just so excited to just see this team come together and just really be proud for their nation and just bring a lot of pride for their nation of the Marshall Islands.
It is an emotional day, that is to be certain. I was talking with the head coach for the Marshall Islands, Lloyd Owers, today, and he talked a little bit when I asked him about making sure that the emotion doesn't get on top of his players, making sure that you can manage the emotion and recognize it and understand what the atmosphere is going to bring and what the moment is going to bring without necessarily letting it dictate the game. And that is to go along with, we'll talk a little bit about the U.S. Virgin Islands and the sporting challenge that they pose to a really good Marshall Islands team, a really good U.S. Virgin Islands team as well. But the emotional aspect of this is going to be the biggest challenge for the Marshall Islands, recognizing what this moment means.
Yeah, and head coach Lloyd Owers had a tweet thread here earlier today, and just reading through it, I mean, my tears were welling up. I'm from Springdale. I've known of the Marshallese people, went to school with them growing up here in Springdale, and so just very a historic, incredible thing to get to be a part of. And Lloyd mentioned he wanted to make his mark in football, and he felt like he was really able to find that with the Marshall Islands. They were just a very proud island nation, and just what a moment. What a moment, Ben.
There are several players who were born and raised in the Marshall Islands, a couple from Majuro. There are several players who were born and raised in the United States but have the Marshallese heritage to help get themselves on this team. Wherever it is that these players were born and raised, they feel a very special connection to this very special country. And players have talked about how it has been difficult for them to not be able to see themselves represented on the soccer field the way that you would for just about any other country, whether it be in the World Cup or any other competition further on down. And now these players will have an opportunity to show others the opportunity that this can happen, that this is real, that this is a possibility for you to be able to represent your country in this way. And for many, speaking with plenty in the Marshallese camp, that is where most of this emotion comes from, not just the ability, after nearly 3 years of work from Lloyd Owers and Matt Webb and the entire group, to put this show on the road, but what it can mean for the next generation of Marshallese players.
Yeah, and I was, just reading through some of these player bios, and we've been able to talk to Matt John, who's just a really, really fun personality to be around. The vibes are very high in the room. No matter if Matt is there, you're going to have a good time. He's a fun guy to be around, but that he actually stopped. He gave up on the game of soccer for a little while because he was Marshallese and just they didn't play it as much. So the fact that he gets to suit up and represent his nation here tonight in the first ever match, I mean, that's chills for me.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about what this means, not only for the Marshallese players, but for the wider world in general. You talk about Matt John, who played from age 4 to 13, but when he first moved to Arkansas, he was bullied out of playing because he was the only Marshallese player in the group. Now an opportunity to point to a group like this and say this is an island that has a national team that is competing on the world stage, what that is going to mean for the rest of this Marshallese community that is here in Northwest Arkansas, for the rest of the Marshallese community around the world, whether it's back in the Pacific or anywhere else they might be. That is the kind of ramifications. Look, the 90 minutes will be what the 90 minutes are going to be, but it is these moments that will have the ripple effect and the trickle-down effect for the days, the weeks, the months, the years to come.
And every single player will remember how they feel right this moment. And I mean, we'll hear the national anthem here in just a few minutes. And I can't wait to just see those players getting to listen to their national anthem for the very first time before an international soccer match. I'm very interested in the makeup of this team, Ben, and I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on how you feel just about the makeup of the team. You mentioned several players that grew up in the Marshall Islands, several that grew up stateside, some people that live there now, varying levels of college soccer participation, and some youthful players as well within the roster.
It is a very interesting mix in terms of the age. There are players listed on the roster as old as the backup goalkeeper, Jonathan Kohler, who is 43 years of age. Patrick Phelon, aged 39, one of the defenders, all the way down to a player like Gladius Edejer, just 17 years of age. Gabino Gallegos, just 18 years of age. Players like Cullen Turanga, 18. Ben Hill, 18. A huge mix. But there's also a bunch of players that have not been a team for all that long. You talk about going up against a FIFA nation in the U.S. Virgin Islands. We'll talk a little bit more about the USVI and how impressive they were in stages of their penalty shootout win over Turks and Caicos yesterday. USVI is a FIFA nation. They have been training, they've been building for a long time. And you juxtapose that against a Marshall Islands Soccer Federation team that all met together for the first time 6 days ago. This is not a team that has been able to be built in the same training camp for months and weeks on end. For many players coming from a futsal background, the 11v11 game is relatively new to them, at least compared to how some of the players of the U.S. Virgin Islands and Turks and Caicos have been going at it. It is a Herculean effort for Lloyd Owers and the rest of this Marshall Islands group. But, as you say, there is a lot of balance to this group as well. It is a group that I was talking with some of the members of the coaching staff on day one of training camp. When they got here at Springdale, there were 3 or 4 tables on either end of the dining hall. They would get their food and then kind of retreat back to the players they already knew. This morning at breakfast, the camp was all sitting together as one. They were singing happy birthday to Aaron Anitok-Brokken, who turns 18 years of age today. It is a group that has gelled quicker than it got the sense that even some people within the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation expected them to. And that could have serious ramifications not only off the field, but on the field as well.
What a place to spend your 18th birthday.
No kidding.
Representing your nation in their first ever international matches. We see the teams departing for the locker room here. Just a special, special moment. And a team that has really become a brotherhood over the last 6 days. They did have they were able to have an international futsal competition at one point in the Marshall Islands, and that was kind of the beginning of this, of Lloyd Owers' first effort into organizing soccer of any kind. And now, after that event happening in Majuro, we get to see it here in Springdale, Arkansas. And if you're joining us from the Marshall Islands or wherever you may be joining us internationally, we are so thankful that you are tuned in here, and we appreciate it.
Right now, the time, 1:04 p.m. on Friday. It is just after 8 p.m. here on Thursday evening in Springdale, Arkansas. But some Friday afternoon footy, perhaps, if you are back in the Marshall Islands, and again, wherever you might be, because this is a story that has captivated the world. We mentioned in the previous match in the Turks and Caicos, the Ozark United match, which ended up being a Turks and Caicos shootout victory. The amount of publications around the world that have caught wind of this story, the BBC coming out with stories for years, the New York Times back in 2023 catching wind of this story, and then over the course of this past week, L'Equipe this morning, the Marshall Islands knocking PSG off the front page of the sports section. Maca in Spain. Portugal has had large publications telling the story. It is such a captivating story because it is simply not something that happens very much anymore. We talk about over 200 nations having national teams, every other team just about in the world, and so much of the international game is talk about adjusting to the new world of international soccer, and what does the U.S. have to do, and what do the teams have to do, South America, and even the challenges that come with a Caribbean nation like the USVI or like Turks and Caicos. Simply very little is being built from the ground up anymore, because it is very difficult to find countries that don't have national teams anymore, and that has been what has been so captivating about this story, and that is why it is such an unknown quantity what we're going to see on the field. But what, to some extent, it doesn't necessarily matter. And Lloyd told me something earlier on today that really stuck with me. He said, look, we're going to try very hard on the field. We have a plan on the field, and we feel confident about what is going to happen on the field. But there is a sense around this Marshall Islands Soccer Federation that when the national anthem plays and the first ball is kicked, they have already won.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is going to be the lasting impression over the course of this week. And Marshall Islands is going to continue to build up, and they have very high aspirations in terms of eventually getting themselves into the large federations that govern world football. But there is a sense that they have already done what they came here to do, and that is be represented on the world stage, and now an opportunity to go out and play a game. And that is the exciting part about it. And we certainly do not want to diminish what happens on the field as well, because that is going to be critically important. And we'll have 90 minutes plus to break all of it down. But we want to make sure that what you are about to see is put in the proper context of not just 22 guys running around a field in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, just such an exciting moment. We obviously would like to see them score a goal. You'd like to see them win. But ultimately, the scoreline at the end of it, while important, we get to see this nation break the ground of their national football team for the first time ever. And honestly, just what a joy to be a part of. And I've enjoyed watching as you mentioned, the outpouring of all the media. I just enjoy the outpouring of just the support for just people, normal people who are inspired by this story. If you have any enjoyment in soccer whatsoever, this is just such a enjoyable story to learn about, to read about, and just as we've gotten to know the players over the last couple of days, they deserve all of the joy, all of the enjoyment of this. So I've really just enjoyed that, just as we've started this Outrigger Challenge Cup.
Well, we've had to wait long enough. Lloyd Owers has waited nearly 3 years to build this. So what's 4 more minutes? We have gotten word that we will have an 8:14 start because of the fact that Turks and Caicos and Ozark United went to that penalty shootout. If you weren't here for that one, you missed a 6-goal thriller, Carter. That was a ton of fun. Let's turn our attention while we have this extra 4 minutes to the U.S. Virgin Islands, because they are not just here to make up the numbers. They are very much here to spoil the party. The Dashing Eagles looked really good against Turks and Caicos in that 1-1 draw in regulation, and then the shootout win. They had the lion's share of possession. We expect to see a heavily rotated squad. Questions if we'll see Joshua Ramos, if we'll see Jett Blascka, if we'll see players like Quinn Farrell, who are all really standout performers in that win yesterday. Talked about it in the Turks and Caicos match. Really difficult to turn around so quickly. So we'll see what we see from the U.S. Virgin Islands, but this is a USVI team that looks to have among more talented groups here in Springdale this week.
Yeah, and Ramos he was unbelievable last night. The only thing that kept him from winning man of the match was that Sebastian Turbyfield, the goalkeeper for Turks and Caicos, was out of this world last night and kept it a 1-1 game when Ramos had his chance to score his first ever international goal for USVI on a point-blank header that Turbyfield somehow got a hand to. But he was excellent. He plays in USL League One. He was a successful college player. He was really the best player on the pitch last night. So if we see him here this evening starting, the Marshall Islands will most certainly have their hands full with him. But you know what? I'm just excited to see how they play. I mean, we've never seen it, so it's kind of a unknown quantity how the Marshall Islands are. I mean, of course, Lloyd and his staff know how they're going to play, but we're unsure as the teams are just about set to make their appearances here.
Let's see if we see Quinn Joseph in goal as well after Dylan Ramos played regulation and Joseph came in for the penalty shootout. But the moment has just about arrived. They are on their feet here at Jarrell Williams Bulldog Stadium. Several hundred look to be in attendance, and I think several hundred, if not 1,000 more, will say that they were here in Springdale, Arkansas for when it all began. As they begin their walk out onto the field, Marshallese flags flying just about anywhere you look on the near stand just out of your picture. Here, as the sun begins to set on Springdale, Arkansas, but the sun begins to rise on the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, and a new day for this group to represent a very proud nation that has had to wait far, far too long to be represented on the soccer field. It will be the U.S. Virgin Islands in the gold kits and Marshallese in kits that have caught the eye of the world as much as the story has.
Yeah.
These kits have been absolutely beautiful. Tie-ins to the fight against climate change as well throughout the years.
We'll see the white ones on Saturday. Is that right?
Yes, that is the plan.
The blue and orange stripe. Both of these kits, they absolutely did such an excellent job with both Marshall Islands kits.
Well, this is the moment that was tagged to be the main moments in terms of what the Marshallese were looking for, where they can look out, and it is fitting that they are looking back this way onto where the crowd is. The ability to see in real time the effect that they are having on this community that is cheering them on in full force and full voice as we step aside for the moment we have been waiting for. The national anthems of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and for the first time in an international match for the Marshall Islands. nearly 3-minute melody to score a nearly 3-year process for Lloyd Owers and the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, and it all leads to a wonderful night here at Jarrell Williams Bulldog Stadium. Mother Nature has cooperated. It is warm, but it is clear, and we will play under the lights here in Springdale, Arkansas, in front of an excellent crowd, an engaged crowd that has been making noise ever since we hit the break after the Turks and Caicos versus Ozark United match finished up. The Marshallese knew that they were up next, and the flags have been out in force. I believe there's a vuvuzela or two downstairs. There's a handful of USVI gold as well making the trip and making themselves known, singing their national anthem with the plenty of pride that it certainly deserves. It is nearly a surreal feeling. You and I have been in meetings and discussions for weeks, if not months, about making sure that we can bring this to you, and we're so honored, and it's such a pleasure to be able to be the ones to tell this story. But it is now finally here, and now all of the discussions about the first and about what this means to the community, and all of these are not put away, but if it's something, they're put on the back burner just a little bit, because there is a soccer game to play, and it is against a really solid FIFA nation in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And so the Marshallese are going to have to be on their very best. We can tell you that the starting keeper for the Marshall Islands is, as expected, Matt Perrella. 33 years of age, born and raised in New Jersey, played his college soccer in the Garden State at Rider University, and then some at Durham University in England. He spent some time with Newcastle United, which is the team that he supports, and bounced around a couple of MLS teams before playing in the USL Championship. He is one of the more experienced players on this Marshall Islands team who has played at some of the very highest of levels. He's played for clubs like Pittsburgh Riverhounds, for clubs like Bethlehem Steel, who are better known now as Philadelphia Union 2, right underneath them, which have produced some fantastic talent. He currently is out of his playing career in the club level. Last played Florida Tropics, one of 5 teams that he played for indoors. He will be a very steadying presence in goal for the Marshall Islands, one of the more experienced players on the team. But it will be the USVI who are standing over the ball as we get set to kick things off here on a Thursday night that will be forever etched into the sporting history books of the Marshall Islands, and indeed the Pacific as a whole. Among the outpouring of support have been from other nations around the Pacific who recognize what this means for their neighboring nation. It is Naquan Henry, who played yesterday, who is standing over the ball today, and we are underway. The ball rolls here at Jarrell Williams Bulldog Stadium, and we are underway between the Marshall Islands and the U.S. Virgin Islands. It is the Marshall Islands who are in the blue striped kits. They will be moving from right to left across your screen as you view it. The USVI in the gold with the blue accents, they'll be moving from left to right. The first 10 minutes always critical in an international match, but so much more so than normal, Carter, to allow the Marshall Islands to get their footing in this match, or for the USVI to put a halt to all of the pregame momentum.
Yeah, and all of this, I wonder how the USVI feels. I mean, you know, they don't play quite as many games that feel as though they hold this much importance, even though, you know, they're playing against a non-FIFA nation, but you know, you have to assume they're feeling some of the tension just as the Marshallese players are.
Early touch for Patrick. Phelon goes back to the USVI. One of the players that is on the field for the Marshall Islands, Dave Nigro, aged 30, 4-year starter at Monmouth, as Perrella, who also played his college soccer, as we said, in New Jersey, picks it up. Nigro, one of the more experienced of the outfield players for the Marshall Islands. Top 5 all-time goals at Jackson Lions FC, the most capped player for the club. Saw time with New York Cosmos, one of the more famous clubs in the world because of the likes of Pele and Franz Beckenbauer, who played there. And Nigro, who is a former all-conference first-team selection at the college level, going to try to be a steadying presence in the middle. He'll wear number 22 as it's worked its way along the left side for the Dashing Eagles. First real foray forward for USVI, and Matt Perrella will see that one go out of play.
And Ben, another one of the players that we haven't talked about too many of the players individually here yet on this broadcast, but one that I'm really interested in seeing for the Marshall Islands is Josiah Blanton. Played Division I at James Madison. a recent graduate, so really fresh Division I soccer. Could be a very steadying presence on that defensive back line. And of course, you mentioned how important it is to have someone in goal who has a lot of experience, who is a veteran, who knows the beautiful game and has played it for a long time. And Matt Perrella, I believe he will be a very critical player for the Marshall Islands here this evening.
Earlier on today, the Marshallese named Seth Sidle as the captain, 22 years of age. Birth family is from Majuro, was born in Hawaii and raised in Pennsylvania. So many different connections to the country, the Marshall Islands, from around the world, being able to harken back to that heritage that they now have the opportunity to represent. Free kick entering the attacking third here for the USVI. Nearly everybody behind the ball at the moment for the Marshallese. It is whipped in towards the 18-yard box. Heads go up, and Perrella will not be able to pick it out of the back of the net. An early goal 3 minutes in, a looping header from Rakeem Joseph, and the dream start for the USVI to spoil the Marshallese party.
I mean, that header could not have been placed any more perfectly. Just chipped it right over the top of Perrella, and I mean, there just wasn't much he could do. It was just so well placed. A beautiful ball in, a great set piece, and it's 1-0 to USVI.
That goal sponsored by B Hydrogen, the future of hydration. And so the Marshallese will have to go again.
And you know, not the start the Marshallese wanted, but you know, it's happened. They can take a collective exhale. You know, it's not going to come easy in your first ever international fixture.
And so how do the Marshall Islands try to respond to the early gut punch that the USVI draw? Again, it is Joseph who seems to be running just fine after the early goal yesterday, and then the USVI almost double their advantage, clattering towards the back post. Go the Dashing Eagles.
I don't know if he intended for that to be a shot or a cross, but regardless, it was almost found at the back post, and they almost made it 2-0.
The Dashing Eagles' legs look plenty fresh.
Yeah, simply just outpacing the Marshall Islands right now.
So a 1-0 lead for the USVI as we hit the 5-minute mark. A third-minute goal for Rakeem Joseph. And then a slip from Perrella on what we have said is a very slippery turf, and away comes Henry the other way, looking to make it 2. Good save, long rebound is kicked wide and out of the immediate danger. Perrella can't get to it, and it will be a goal kick. Matt Perrella finding his footing in the early going.
And Perrella, what an effort to rebound there. After he slipped, he wasn't able to, he gave the ball away, and he very coolly made a save and then prevented the USVI from getting another opportunity.
That's the experience of a 33-year-old that Matt Perrella has, to not panic after the immediate mistake, to come right back and make a play to make up for it. Again, didn't quite get the purchase he would have wanted on the kick, but it winds back up with the Marshallese anyway. There is Nigro. Back over onto the left side. Nigro picking his head up, looking to pick out the run of Folliet Schutz down the left side. And back up towards the head of Blanton. That's a lovely through ball, and he is offside, says the referee. That is Joshua Ramos, who Marshallese were hoping was not going to start today, given the kind of performance he had against Turks and Caicos.
I mean, I think every time he touched the ball last night, we were just in awe of how technical he was, how confident he was, how just great his first touch was. Something creative happened every single time Ramos touched the ball. So that's going to be a key for the Marshallese to try and find a way to keep him off of the ball as much as possible.
Long boot into the attacking third, and again, USVI able to possess. It is already an uphill climb after a third-minute header goal from Rakeem Joseph. Gives the USVI the early advantage. Now it is about how the Marshallese are able to respond. So we'll go out, touch, and a throw in for the Dashing Eagles. It is an immense point of pride, you would imagine, for USVI to want to make sure that they assert themselves in this match. History in the form of just playing this match is all well and good, but USVI will certainly not want to mark themselves down as the first team to fall at the hands of the Marshall Islands. That pass just a little bit behind the intended recipient.
Yeah, and there's a little contingency of USVI fans down here, about the 5th row.
Nice 1-2 to find a chance along the right side. The Marshallese jerseys start to flood forward. A cross is put in. That was tailing away off the outside of the boot. That's a bit better, though, for the Marshallese. Off of a turnover, you get an opportunity down the right side to fling one into the box.
Yeah, and they looked confident doing it. No second guess there. The cross was not exactly what they wanted, but, you know, they're starting to make a little bit of progress after the early goal from USVI.
8 minutes and 15 seconds gone by. It has been the U.S. Virgin Islands that have had the better of the possession and the better of the chances. But the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation is truly up and running. That is the headline. And now we'll write the body of the story. Long run down the left channel again for the USVI. This time it was cut out, slipped from the defender again. And it is worked out by Ramos, who continues to maraud down the left flank, and he was stopped in his tracks.
Great job by the Marshall Islands.
Here's the birthday boy, Anitok-Brokken, with it on the ball. Just has to be a dream for him in so many different ways. There'll be a throw-in for the Marshallese, as that one did go out of play. Aaron Anitok, born in Salem, Oregon, has moved around a lot around the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, Ramos had a phenomenal spin and turn on that ball, and the Marshall Islands really cinched up on him, wasn't it? He was not able to find the supporting player. They're just going to have to press him very, very hard.
Gladius Edejer with the long ball forward. Immediate danger is cleared away. Phelon will let it go out of play. Phelon lived in the Marshall Islands for 9 years. Born in Texas, raised in Massachusetts. Once stood on a platform 700 feet below the surface of the ocean.
That's a fun fact.
We have no other information other than that for that event.
Where was the platform? I have a lot of questions about that.
You know, that could be our homework for Friday. We've got a day off tomorrow.
Where is such a platform?
Somebody who is, you'd imagine, going to have as much composure as anybody on the field. Picked up along the right side, moving past one and then the second defender, but again, the USVI central defense holding strong. After the goal in the 3rd minute, the next 6 or 7 minutes, save for the one slip from Perrella, have been more encouraging from a Marshallese perspective. They've been hounding around the ball, and they do win it back. Josiah Blanton back on the ball. Asking for it and receiving it is Lucas Schriver. Spent most of his club career at the Villarreal, Virginia Academy, born and raised in Arlington, Virginia, where the Spanish side has a really good setup in terms of the talent ID. Long switch of play towards the right. Able to catch up to it before it goes out of play are the Marshallese. It will roll out of touch, and it will be a Marshallese throw-in. USVI can't believe it. But a real chance now for the Marshall Islands to get numbers forward. Aaron Anitok in support. He receives the throw, and Anitok's cross goes towards the back post, and nobody quite there in Marshallese colors to get to it quickly enough. Folliet Schutz was there, but not before USVI Dashing Eagle could deflect it back to Whelan Joseph. That is a little bit more better for the Marshall Islands, though.
That was a promising corner. I almost wondered if they would go with that long throw on that sideline there, but they take it short and whip across to the back post.
You think back to where things really began for the Marshall Islands with that futsal competition last year. A lot of the aspects of that game really showing itself for the Marshall Islands early on in terms of how they have swarmed to the ball to get takeaways in the middle of the field. It could, however, open things up the other way for the Dashing Eagles. Perrella hesitates. Will he go or stay? He will eventually clear away.
It's very calm from Perrella there, and had multiple players just barreling down on him, Ramos being one of them.
Knew exactly how much time he needed, though. That was something we were talking about for the Ozark United U19s, is that internal clock, perhaps not fully developed, certainly was there for Perrella. Another very direct ball in the direction of Joseph, and this time no problem for Matt Perrella to scoop up.
It's a great touch.
Lovely little turn to get things away and an opportunity to send Zach Hill on the run. Long run for Hill, 22-year-old, born in Hawaii. He's unable to get there before it rolls out for a goal kick. So 12 minutes and 45 seconds gone by. Of course, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the happier of the two sides, up 1-0. If you're Lloyd Owers and the Marshallese, have a couple of things to take away from this first 13 or so minutes now as the clock continues to tick. But again, the USVI going over the top of the Marshallese and daring the backs of the team wearing the blue striped kits to be able to defend them in transition. There's really only been one or two players going forward. That's a really nice touch to settle things down for the Marshallese, though, and again, they can come down the left side. Here is Schutz with green grass in front of him to run. Gives it back over to Anitok. And a whistle and a free kick for the Marshallese. This will be an opportunity to flood some numbers forward and whip it into the box.
We'll see how the set piece develops for the Marshallese. That was an excellent, excellent touch up at the top there to settle it down a little, break into a counterattack.
Josiah Blanton standing over it, the James Madison University Duke. So too is Nigro. Will it be Nigro with the left foot or Blanton with the right? The line for the USVI, the offside line, is right around the edge of the 18-yard box. It will be Nigro who will deliver it. Took a deflection. It should be a corner, and it will be. Oh, as soon as that ball takes a deflection off of a defender's leg, it could go absolutely anywhere. And it will be the first corner of the day for the Marshallese, and that will get the fans below us in good voice. Opportunity for a set piece off the training ground here for the Marshall Islands. It will be an outswinger with the right foot towards the near post. Took a deflection, and it heads up and over the bar. A full volley attempt from just outside the 18-yard box. And it went in the end harmlessly over the crossbar of Whelan Joseph. But set pieces proving to have an opportunity for the Marshallese to at least trouble Whelan Joseph and ask some questions of the USVI defense.
And the Marshall Islands are asking some very legitimate questions. They have made the USVI have to make some critical plays off of these set pieces.
Awfully nifty from Rakeem Joseph in his own defensive third. And it will wind up back with the Dashing Eagles yet again. Remember, it was the USVI who had to play from behind yesterday against Turks and Caicos, that 15th minute goal from TNC to give them the lead, and then the 37th minute equalizer from Carmelo Rodriguez. And it ended up 1-1 the rest of the way. Blanton will be content to head back towards his own goal. James Madison, a very well-respected soccer program. Second team All-State coming out of high school, top 100 recruit in the midseason. James Madison starting their exhibition games this week, but a very excused absence for Josiah Blanton. Not often that college players can say, hey boss, I have an international break to get to, and this is no ordinary one. USVI trying to settle things down in their own defensive third, but a good spell of possession from the Marshall Islands over the past 7 minutes or so. Long run off the throw from Henry. He has space to run onto in front of him. Henry with a stop and a start. He shoots on from a sharp angle. Perrella's able to keep it in front of him. And a long distribution out towards the left. Good round of applause for the save from Perrella. Who knows he's going to need a big day today.
He angled himself really well. Just kind of cut that corner, cut that angle off for the shot.
Anitok with a long Ball down the right side. Joseph has to play it with his feet because he's outside of the box, and played a little 1-2 with his own defender to get himself out of some trouble.
And Joseph had to be very calm, cool, and collected there. He was just a step outside of his box. I don't know that he had realized initially that he had wandered that far out.
Be a USVI throw. Outside of the one goal from USVI that came on a set piece. Things going, you have to say, relatively according to plan for the Marshall Islands. They've had some possession in their attacking third, but the chances in the back for the USVI could really be what undoes the Marshallese. Another cut back towards the middle, and Ramos sends it over the bar. Simply can't give Joshua Ramos opportunities to shoot from that range.
Almost hit the Springdale Bulldog S on the wall up there. Sent that one flying.
Yeah, our camera does a great job of following it. I don't think it ended up being able to track it all the way. There are some fans who are able to view the game from that stand that is behind the goal. Really unique vantage points to witness a unique moment in sporting history. But if you take away all of the pomp and the circumstance, you're left with a soccer game in which it's 1-0 U.S. Virgin Islands, but the flow of traffic has largely been in favor of the Marshallese, at least over the past 5 minutes or so. But there are players for USVI who can undo all that hard work in a moment. Joseph's certainly one of them. Joseph seems to be taking a more defensive approach than he was yesterday. That could be to manage his running after playing yesterday, but he was playing, the player wearing number 9 is kind of in that number 9 striker role yesterday, and now looks to be in almost more of a wingback role. Lovely turn from Nigro. Switches the point of attack over towards the left where Schutz is standing. Schutz gets the ball right back. Lucas Schriver. Blanton. Space along the right flank. Schriver calling for the ball back. Blanton was in his way and took it instead. A little bit of a pocket of space here for Anitok. Again, his favorite pass has been that one towards the right, and there is space along there to operate before getting to the end line. Lovely defending, though, in the end from Shabazz Henry, and it will be a throw-in for the USVI.
Tried the nutmeg there on the edge of the box, just wasn't able to get it through.
But real opportunities on that switch from Schriver on the left.
What a ball that
Back
was.
to the
Schriver.
right, yeah.
Excellent, excellent ball. Schriver's impressed so far. Early on, he has looked very, very good. Wheaton College product.
Has been really confident and calm. And it has been Seth Sidle who has been making the runs along the right side, named the captain earlier on today by Lloyd Owers and the Marshall Islands staff. Good touch from Schriver to get in the way of a pass that would have seen Joseph had so much room. Direct pass from the Marshallese over the top that USVI is able to deal with. Lovely touch from Joseph and an important interception that time. It was Gladius Edejer who was able to knock it away.
Great job from Edejer.
Crunching tackle put in, but a legal one from Axel Barch, Occidental College product at the D3 level of the NCAA. Ball is really taking high hops off of this artificial turf, but it was dealt well with by Nigro. Fancy footwork from Blanton, and he got the ball out of his feet. Referee plays advantage. Nigro looked like he was going to go for goal. It never got that far. And now a chance for USVI to break. They're nearly 2 versus 2. Henry able to keep himself onside as the Marshallese numbers flood back. And an important touch from Schriver, who gives a little bit of a fist pump afterwards. He knows what that touch meant.
What a job from Schriver. Josiah Blanton had kind of pressed forward. There was a gap in the defense. Schriver backtracks. What a touch from Schriver.
And the Marshallese fans responding in kind. Clipped over the top by Barch. There was nobody making the corresponding run.
Schriver has been impressive. I mean, the midfielder backtracking and making that tackle. And I say it, you know, the one goal on a picture-perfect header notwithstanding, the Marshall Islands are looking very, very good, I think.
if nothing else, if you're Lloyd Owers right now on the sidelines, you're trying to contain your emotion of the moment, but you're thinking about, look, this competition is not only about this game, it's about the next 6 months, it's about the next 6 years. And so far, if the first 22 minutes are anything to show for, there is a lot to build on here for this Marshallese side. Henry's going to get on the receiving end of this pass, though. Absolutely lovely touch. Outside of the boot, pass intercepted well. And a tackle put into the middle was for naught because it will be a Marshallese free kick anyway. The back line for the Marshallese have been taking some chances. They're playing a very high line, recognizing the USVI loves to play direct, so they're daring USVI almost to stay onside, to keep themselves to hold that run. And we will hit the first of the hydration breaks, 23 minutes in. Obviously, USVI will be the happier of the two teams with the 3rd-minute goal from Rakeem Joseph. If you're Lloyd Owers right now, you have an opportunity to get your team to take a breath, though. The hardest part is done. The first 15 minutes are done. The national anthem and all the emotions that have come with that are done. And now you're playing a game of soccer in which you've had opportunities, you've had chances to get numbers forward. I feel like this is an interesting opportunity for Owers to kind of tell that to his team, to say, okay, all of that is now behind us. Yeah. The hardest part is done. Let's get to our game plan.
I mean, and so many positives. You know, they hit this hydration break, and there's been a lot of good, both just on the individual players' perspective. Like Schriver has been impressive. Blanton has done some great things. They are making some plays and giving themselves some opportunities. There's a lot to build on, and Lloyd Owers has a chance to talk to his team, settle them down a little bit. You know, that one just perfectly placed header aside, the Marshall Islands have looked very, very good in this fixture.
I think that for the U.S. Virgin Islands, you have to kind of take it as it goes. Marshall Islands know that they're going to get an opportunity to press on the counter. They know that they're going to get their opportunities flooding numbers forward with a crowd behind them. So if the U.S. Virgin Islands is able to just kind of steady that pressure, they know that they have players of immense quality who can hit you very quickly, in terms of Henry, in terms of Joseph. Shabazz Henry yesterday against Turks and Caicos was flooding forward a little bit more. He might not necessarily have the legs to get as forward as he did yesterday. But the U.S. Virgin Islands knows that they can kind of sit back and wait out the Marshall Islands. But the other side of that coin is the longer this stays 1-0, the more you feel confident as a Marshall Island player, and less so as the USVI player.
They're going to keep believing. I mean, this stays 1-0. They keep asking these questions. They're really going to start believing.
So we get back to action with the Marshall Islands trailing 1-0 here on a Thursday night in Springdale, Arkansas. Got a chance during the hydration break to just take a look at Twitter. And it is absolutely an outpouring of support from across, or X, I should say, from across the social media world.
I still say Twitter.
Yeah, me too.
It's all right.
From across the social media world of the story of this match, there's been commentary on how good the fans have been from the word go, from the national anthem. They have been making plenty of noise. As Blanton will launch one forward, it will bounce in front of Joseph, and he will field it cleanly. The Marshallese knew that this would be a big advantage for them, the atmosphere behind them. And a really solid crowd here on a Thursday night. We expect it is only going to continue to grow on Saturday, as the word gets out of what is happening here at Springdale High School. USVI playing out of the back.
Yeah, USVI might have also appreciated that hydration break to kind of reset their game plan a little bit. So far, the Marshall Islands have dictated the pace of the last 15 minutes.
Aubin Atemazem is into the match for the U.S. Virgin Islands. That one will roll out. It will be a Marshallese throw. Plenty of VIPs in the house for the Marshallese. So many members of this community recognizing what this means here back in the country, back here in Springdale and everywhere else where there is Marshallese fandom and Marshallese blood. There are eyes on this soccer match. Blanton with another very direct ball, asking a long run out of Nigro. He can't get there before Joseph. I believe that's where some of those VIPs are posted in that stand behind the goal. Yeah.
Kind of a little suite behind the field goal there.
Great opportunity to have a unique vantage point for this one. Carmelo Rodriguez in the midfield pulling the strings, able to find Ramos. Good step up from Phelon, the right back.
Yeah, Phelon has done really well on that right side as well. I mean, it's a tall task, just Ramos is kind of shaded over on that side and playing on that wing, but so far they've done pretty well.
To his counterpoint, number 2, Jett Blascka. Marquette product, played for Pittsburgh City United, as well as a club in Gibraltar, Manchester 62. And if you forgive the pun, he's been the rock of the defense for the U.S. Virgin Islands.
I didn't know you had a Gibraltar pun in the bag.
Always got to stay ready,
you're
Carter.
keeping me on my toes.
It's called being prepared for the broadcast.
Yeah, some references, some good pulls.
And this is only day 2. We've got 2 more matches coming up on Saturday. Hope that you join us for those as well, right back here on the same airwaves. Here's an opportunity for USVI along the left. Ramos will pick it up, his head always up when he gets on the ball, and he's stymied by Sidle, the captain getting the better of Ramos, but Ramos picks it right back up on the recovery run. Couple step overs, lovely pass into the direction of Henry, who will let it fly, parried away by Perrella. Long rebound is sliced away by Joseph.
And Perrella did such a good job there. And then, I mean, once again, I feel like we keep talking about him, but Schriver backtracked to, I mean, he cut any angle from the net off there and did not allow them to have any chance at a second shot. Schriver is just all over the pitch right now.
While we mention Saturday's action, we'll give you the schedule as well. 1 p.m. local time here in the Central Time Zone will be the Marshall Islands' second match against Turks and Caicos, and we'll round out the weekend with the U.S. Virgin Islands against the Ozark United U19s. That's going to be a lot of fun. Those are 2 teams who are going to run and run and run. Could be one of the more wide open games we see this week here in Springdale. Here is Blascka along the right flank. Speaking of running, going from 0 to 60 in a hurry. Lovely turn as well from Joseph to find Henry, who's in and pushes it wide. That's the combination tic-tac-toe from Blascka to Joseph to Henry that the USVI will want to see more of.
Yeah, jersey over the head from Henry there. He realized he's got to at least put that one on target and force Perrella to make a save. But I mean, he was in and just hooked it to the left.
So the USVI will have to go again as the Marshall Islands can clear their lines. Half an hour gone by, and it remains 1-0. A 3rd-minute goal from Rakeem Joseph places club soccer in Antigua for Empire FC. Another clearance in the direction of Henry. Looked like he got clipped, and he did. Just a dangling leg from Schutz, and it will go back the way of the USVI, who get the sense that they might need to push the gas pedal a bit further down in the final 15 of this first half.
Yeah, they've looked a lot more cohesive since that hydration break. And that's kind of what we've seen these first 3 matches. That break at about the 20th minute, it has really reset some of these teams who have been struggling. That's an excellent touch there.
Couple of moves to get free by Anitok. And one more. And the fans absolutely adoring it.
Oh, go on, young man.
If you were that confident on the soccer field on your 18th birthday, would love to hear from you, because you'd be few and far between, given all of the trappings of this match, to pull off those kinds of moves. Ramos again with an opportunity. He's got support in the middle in the form of Barch, but wasn't on the same page as Ramos, who had started a diagonal run the other way. So again, the Marshall Islands can pick it up and no damage done. I think if you asked Lloyd Owers if you would offer him 1-0 down at halftime, he would at least have to think about it. Clipped in the direction of Schutz. It's just out of the reach of him.
Yeah, I don't know if Coach Owers had any preset expectations for what it would be at half, but you know, if of course we still have a lot of time here. We don't want to cast or curse this just yet, but I mean 1-0 in the 33rd minute here. Marshall Islands have definitely created some belief, and they have made some very good plays.
Here's Blascka again, marauding down the right side, past one defender and a second as he loses Schriver. Cuts it back towards the right side. There's Henry. His first touch let him down, and it was closed down very quickly in the end by Edejer.
Edejer did a really good job. I mean, the first touch a little bit heavy, but Edejer did exactly what he had to, position himself really well.
Here comes the opportunity for the long throw. Quinn Farrell has this in his bag of tricks. Sends it in towards the penalty area. First header is flicked on. Took that big bounce that's always dangerous in the penalty area before it was cleared away.
For synthetic turf, you've mentioned it a couple of times. The bounces they're pretty firm here on this turf
That's a
field.
good way to put it, yeah. So the U.S. Virgin Islands with a really good spell of possession in the last 5 minutes, and there's the commentator's curse for you as soon as I say that. A misplaced pass goes wayward. It'll be a Marshallese throw. Three gold jerseys converging around Schutz to make sure he didn't have any room to operate. It's worked between the center back pairing for the USVI. Ball down the left side, asking for a long run from the USVI player. He gets there first into the penalty area. A couple of moves from Ramos. He clips it back post, and he couldn't quite get the angle right. But once again, Joshua Ramos causing havoc down the left flank.
I thought Ramos might have had the chip there. He just so good on the ball, and you just know his touch is good, but just puts it a bit wide.
Couldn't quite get the trigonometry set in real time for Joshua Ramos. It ended up looking more like a chipped cross than anything else. I think he was intending to go for goal there. Blanton will play catch with his goalkeeper.
Yeah, Schriver just calling for this ball down here on the left side.
He's got acres of space.
A lot of space. No one saw him.
And so back it goes again to the Dashing Eagles. Schriver has some defensive responsibilities now, and Rakeem Joseph, the goal scorer, a little bit of a slip from the Marshallese defense, and the shot comes in. Perrella got a hand to it. Oh, what a save from Matt Perrella to keep it 1-0.
Perrella's a little frustrated with his defense there, and they've lost footing. Really forced Perrella to make a good save there, and he turns that one away, and it's a corner for USVI. Wow, what a save from Perrella.
It will be a corner for the Dashing Eagles, though. It will be an in-swinger with the right foot. It goes towards the penalty area. Heads go up, and that went off of, I believe, the goalpost, the football goalpost, and back into play. It is a goal kick. Everyone reacted as though it went onto the crossbar, but it actually went onto the football field goal post, which is out of play.
And I don't think Perrella knew that it had hit the football goal post.
He would have no way of
I
that.
think he was having a heart attack knowing that ball had caromed back into play. You could kind of tell he took a deep breath after it was waved off. And good job by the linesman down here who waved his flag to say that it was off of the football goal post.
I will say it's been a well-refereed game as a whole, but that is a really difficult call for the linesman to make in real time.
Because those posts are pretty close together. So I'm glad that he saw it.
Marshallese are as well. But USVI wins possession off of the ensuing goal kick. 37th minute. This was a minute in which the USVI scored through Carmelo Rodriguez yesterday to equalize against Turks and Caicos. Can they find a second in just about the same spell of time here? Content to build out of the back now are the Dashing Eagles, along towards the left side again. Ramos always seems to find the correct option this time. Better safe than sorry backwards. Works its way along towards the right, where Blascka has really made that right flank his office throughout the night. Shabazz Henry able to keep the ball in front of him. Rodriguez sends it backwards. And a tackle put in that will result in a free kick for the USVI. Dashing Eagle player remains down for the moment. That's Shabazz Henry, who's now back up to his feet. This is one you'd imagine will be a pass rather than a shot.
Yeah, and this is where USVI were able to bury their lone goal, is off of a free kick on kind of the other side of the pitch. They went back post and just placed it perfectly across into the back of the net. And again, looks like they'll kind of stack it back post again.
It is clipped in towards the penalty area. Ramos goes up for the header, and it's cleared away. Only as far as the entrance to the final third for the USVI. All the way back it goes. Tempo very much being played at the US Virgin Islands preferred speed.
Yeah, they have slowed this game down a lot, and we saw them do this last night as well when Turks and Caicos were really looking to hit very, very quickly on the counter. USVI was very content to slow it down, really control possession, build out the back, take their time.
Well, Nigro took too much time on the ball, nearly lost it. Works its way back to Schutz. He does have options in front of him, but he left the ball behind him. Shouts of man on from the Marshallese bench, and so quickly out of the feet it goes. Henry goes down to the ground. Referee shrugs his shoulders. Schriver again looking for that central ball down the middle. Joseph comes out of his line, and nearly a little bit of miscommunication between Joseph and his defenders. But in the end, it did just bounce to the USVI keeper. Nervy moments in the back.
It looked like it was about to be an opportunity. The keeper just really didn't communicate super clearly there, but it does not come back to hurt the Virgin Islands.
Again, it is Blascka. Again, it is being clipped forward for Henry. This time, Blanton able to send it back for Perrella, who had to play it with his feet because it was a back pass. And so anywhere will do at that point. It just cleared away.
And some nervy goalkeeping moments from both sides here in this first half.
Long throw incoming here from Jett Blascka. Only has 2 or 3 steps for the run-up, but still puts it right in towards the penalty spot. Again, it is just cleared away, and Blascka barely has to move before he can do it again. This is the side with less room for the run-up, as we've been discussing this week. But Blascka still can generate plenty of power towards the near post. It goes! Perrella parries it away again! That's the save of the day, and shouts for a penalty might be given, and they have. U.S. Virgin Islands penalty in the 41st minute off of some chaos off of the rebound. And an opportunity to double the lead for the Dashing Eagles from the spot.
Yeah, and Blascka's long throw causing a lot of problems in the box for the Marshallese here. They're pleading their case with the head official, but the penalty has been given.
Perrella saw that very late, scrambling towards his back post, and couldn't really think about rebound placement. He just had to get anything he could on it. And it went right towards a USVI danger area, and a tackle put in will result in an opportunity for Joshua Ramos from the spot. Chattanooga Red Wolves player in USL League One. And here is the chance that the USVI have been building towards to double their advantage. Well, Ramos will hand it over to Rakeem Joseph, making Perrella think about defending Ramos, and then instead it will be the left foot of Joseph.
And Joseph maybe wants a little redemption for his earlier miss.
He is the goal scorer, though. Joseph to double the lead. He scores! Perrella went the right way, but it was placed inch perfect for Rakeem Joseph. He's got himself a first half brace. And the USVI have doubled their lead.
Yeah, Perrella, I mean, he guessed right. It just hit with just a little bit too much pace. That was a really well-taken penalty from Joseph. And 2-0 after what felt like the Marshall Islands had really started to build a little bit. But, again, USVI started controlling the tempo. They win the penalty, and they convert. It's 2-0.
This goal brought to you by B Hydrogen. Transformation for your hydration routine. Both teams will get an opportunity to hydrate in just a little bit at halftime, but a huge second goal just before the stroke of halftime for the U.S. Virgin Islands, and now they can go hunting for more. A third just before the break would be back-breaking for the Marshallese, who I think are now just trying to get themselves to halftime when they can reset things.
You know what I do like, Ben, even though there was a second goal scored, the Marshallese fans still chanting after that second goal scored, trying to will their team on.
Here come the Dashing Eagles again. Joseph making a run towards the back post. He wasn't being picked up by Ramos. However, Carmelo Rodriguez couldn't quite get the shot away. Getting clearance only as far as the edge of the attacking third. Marshallese really being pinned deep here in the final stages of the first half. And USVI pinging it around Jarrell Williams Bulldog Stadium now. 2 versus 1 along the left flank for the Dashing Eagles. But they will go backwards anyways, right in front of where Lloyd Owers is barking instructions to his Marshallese side. Attempt for the 1-2 ended up working out in the end for USVI, cutting towards the end line. That stayed in play, but catching practice in the end for Perrella.
It was impressive, though, that he kept that in play, even got a cross on it. Thought it was well out over the back.
Plenty for those wearing USVI gold and blue to cheer about, but it is, as you would of course expect, a heavily partisan crowd in favor of the Marshall Islands.
That little pocket of U.S. Virgin Islands fans making a lot of noise down there. Of course, the Vuvuzela has a lot to do with that.
One gentleman who had a USVI flag that we could pick out in the 4th row, you could see the emotion on his face during the national anthem. This means just as much to the fans of all the countries who have made the trip.
Yeah, Ben, as I was leaving last night, I ran into 2 U.S. Virgin Islands fans. They were blaring some music.
This is a long ball. We'll get back to that in a second.
Yeah.
As USVI has some defending to do. It's Farrell with his back to the Marshall Islands attacker. Hey, go ahead there, Carter.
Yeah, the 2 fans, I mean, they're strolling out. They were thrilled to death after the penalty shootout win, blaring some music. Looked directly at him and said, "You have a great night, sir." And I was like, it looks like you 2 are already having a great night.
Of course, the points were split between Turks and Caicos and the U.S. Virgin Islands, but USVI getting the better feel at the end of the night, winning the penalty shootout for the tiebreaker. Here comes Joseph going near post. Perrella got a hand to it and then was able to corral it. We are into stoppage time in the first half.
That ball had a bit of malice to it from Joseph. It just kind of floated precariously through the box and almost tripped Perrella, but good job from him to get a hand on it.
Back it goes for Schriver. Again, his directive has been send it long towards the attacking line, where Zach Hill has been among the lonelier of the Marshall Islands players. Difficult assignment for a number 9 when your team is playing on the back foot as much as the Marshall Islands have in the last 20 minutes or so. Into the final stages of this first half, only the referee knows how much time is remaining. Quick look at the watch for the man in the middle. And it looks like the Dashing Eagles aren't in any sort of rush. They might be content to take a 2-0 lead, although as soon as I say that, a long run over the top, and here comes Henry chesting it down, working on Blanton, who sends it back for Perrella. And in the end, the combination of Blanton and Perrella able to do enough to deal with the threat of Henry. Perrella helping Henry up behind the play. That's lovely defending, last-ditch defending for Josiah Blanton.
Yeah, he had to really run for that. That was an excellent ball, and almost caught the Marshallese asleep there because they You didn't think they'd be going for one more on that long ball, but they did. And gosh, what a first half of action.
That is the halftime whistle. And after the first 45 minutes of play, it is the Marshall Islands nothing and the U.S. Virgin Islands 2. Carter, your thoughts on a back and forth first 45 in which USVI have the advantage on the scoreboard?
You know, after the Dashing Eagles were able to score off that first set piece, that really well-placed header that beat the keeper, the Marshall Islands kind of they settled in. They controlled play, they controlled the tempo, they controlled the pace. Were not able to get too many opportunities on goal, but they did have some really good spells. We saw some individual really good play from several players. Lucas Schriver really stood out to me. He was very impressive. Josiah Blanton made some really good plays as well. I would love to see them be able to play a little more direct to get on the goal. But, I mean, the Virgin Islands, after that hydration break, they settled in. They controlled the tempo for the remainder of the half, and they have another goal to show for it after they win the penalty and they go up 2-0.
2 goals for Rakeem Joseph in the first half, a brace for the player who plays his club soccer in Antigua, and work to do for the Marshall Islands on the field. But the biggest task of all is already complete as the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation contests We welcome you back to Jarrell Williams Bulldog Stadium. Springdale, Arkansas is the site for a night that has just been chock full of emotion. Marshall Islands Soccer Federation playing its first ever match. Lloyd Owers got involved with the start of this project in December of 2022, and he has had to wait nearly 3 years to be able to patrol the sideline as the man in charge of the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. But he has not been the only one who has been pulling the strings to make this happen. There are far too many people to thank over the course of whether it be the 6 minutes and 23 seconds left at halftime, or even if we didn't call the next 45 minutes and just spent that time listing the amount of people who were necessary to make this happen. We should note some special people, and any omission of any names is certainly not an indication of their lack of importance in making this happen. There have just been so many people who have made this happen. Amir St. Clair has done a tremendous job running everything in terms of the game management, this competition and this project, whether it be the transportation, getting players to and from where they're sleeping, food, all the logistical side of things. Amir has done just a tremendous job. Justin Wally, in terms of all the communications, we talk about all of the newspapers and radio stations and television stations that have gotten to tell this story. So much of that is because of Justin. Matt Webb has just been an absolute tour de force, a little bit of everything for
One of
Matt.
the funniest people I've ever met.
He is. I got to sit down and have breakfast with him and Lloyd and Justin, and it was just an absolute blast. You were just a couple of those guys that you just want to sit down and talk soccer and talk life with forever. They're just some tremendous people that we've gotten the chance to work with, because this has been an uphill battle for us as well to be able to put this broadcast on the air. There is a lot that goes into it that the viewers at home don't see in terms of getting everything set up, getting to the stadium, getting to Springdale for some of us who are based, whether it be the UK or anywhere else in the United States. And it has all culminated in this, which has just been worth it times infinity. It has just been an absolutely incredible event, and it has just been an absolute privilege to be able to bring this to everybody watching it and listening at home.
I know you're not going to thank yourself here, I know, but you were here. How many hours were you here yesterday?
That's redacted information.
You were here for, I think you first texted me about 9 a.m. yesterday. You started for a 7 o'clock kickoff, trying to get the stream working. And of course, we still had some technical issues that we worked through. We thank anybody that watched last night and were able to deal with our one functional microphone. We got it today. We got good audio today, but Ben has poured a lot of hours in this week in prep for this. So you're not going to thank yourself, but I will thank you personally.
I appreciate it. It's also worth noting that a lot of the people whose names I just mentioned are working for this federation on a volunteer basis. Absolutely. This is not a self-serving, let's get in on the ground floor to better ourselves situation for so many of these people who have put in so much time, and quite literally for some blood, sweat, and tears. This has been out of the recognition of the chance to build something for these players, and as we were talking about before the game, for players to come and for Marshallese kids who are looking up to this group. Can't share the entire team talk that Lloyd Owers gave with this group, that wouldn't be fair, but one thing that stuck out to me that he's been saying numerous times is using the word heroes. And that is a word that gets thrown around a lot in culture and society, but to an entire group, to an entire country, this group of young men out there on this 120 by 53 foot field are indeed just that.
Yeah,
53 yards.
There were 22 mascots for the anthems. All 22 of them were Marshallese kids from around the community, and that's special. Mm-hmm. They will remember that for you. So I told you I got chills in your kind of pregame run up. I feel like I've gotten them a few times watching the local Marshallese kids walk in with both the Marshallese team, but also with the United States Virgin Islands team. I was glad that they got to walk in with them as well, and that they were able to play their own part in this as well.
Yeah, it has been a really important and a really well done kind of set of circumstances. All the trappings have certainly been there to make this night and this event special. And there are plenty who have stuck out through the late night. here in Springdale with the mosquitoes all out to make sure that they are witnessing some history. We're about 2 minutes away from starting the second half. Let's put the perspective and the context aside for a moment and kind of drill down on the sporting aspect of it. Marshall Islands had spells in this match in which they looked, to be frank, the better side than the U.S. Virgin Islands. A goal very early on from Rakeem Joseph off of a set piece, a perfectly placed header, and then a late penalty kick that Joseph was able to put away. A first half brace for him, who has been one of the best players on the field in both of the games that he has played, this one and the match against Turks and Caicos. How did the Marshall Islands get back to where they were for that spell of possession of about 10 or 15 minutes in the middle of the first half?
You know, that's a great question. I was trying to think about, what do they do to get back into this? They've got to figure out how to dictate the tempo.
Yeah.
The United States Virgin Islands, after the water break, about the 23rd minute, I believe, is when we took it. After that, the United States Virgin Islands, you can tell they decided, we are determining the tempo of this game. It is not the Marshall Islands to determine, we are determining it. And they controlled possession. And the chances that the Marshall Islands had were very, very limited after that. So they have to be able to run right at them. We'll see if the Marshall Islands can maybe pick up the pace a little bit. You can tell they wanted to make the Dashing Eagles have to run a little bit more. They played a game 24 hours ago. Yeah, the legs are going to play a factor really for both of these teams, but especially for the United States Virgin Islands, who played a very physical contest against Turks and Caicos last night. You can tell that the Marshall Islands were wanting to take advantage of that and make them run just a little bit. But again, USVI really dictated the tempo for the final 20 minutes of the half, and they won a penalty and they converted and got a second goal out of it.
One more note on the conversation about thanking people. A lot of the players for the Marshall Islands have been individually sponsored as well. We want to give them all shout-outs. We will as well throughout the night and on Saturday as well. But a quick rundown of all of those sponsors: Dylan Llewellyn, Sweeper Pod, Paul Dubberly, Mark Thompson, RBLR Sports, Matt Paul, Hamblywood, Paul Dubberly, Andy Pepper, Elliot Smith, Adam Cole, and Dave Lovering Rodis. Again, the selflessness that has made this federation possible and this competition possible has been extremely widespread. A couple changes going to be made at halftime. Looks like USVI is going to bring on some reinforcements. See if we can identify that for you as soon as possible. But we will expect to see this pretty significantly in the second half. 7 substitutions over 3 windows is what will be available for both of these two teams. Looks like Axel Barch was the one who was removed. And it's perhaps Connor Bass. We'll see if we can confirm that it's number 15 who is entering the contest.
I believe it was number 6 that just...
Yeah, you're right. That is Gabriel Cantone-Highfield, who has come on into the contest.
Waiting for him to turn around just so I could see a number there.
So it will be the Marshall Islands who will be moving from left to right. Gabriel Cantone-Highfield, I should say. I apologize. U.S. Virgin Islands forward, who did appear as a substitute in the loss to the Bahamas back in October. Again, the last matches that the USVI played before this week were all the way back in October in that CONCACAF Nations League C competition. We are ready for the second half of action between the Marshall Islands and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The Marshallese moving from left to right in the blue kits, in case you're just joining us, and already on the ball early on against USVI in the gold jerseys. And an early foray forward in the first minute of second half play. Here is Seth Sidle, the team captain, toward the back post. It goes, head is parried away. Still rebound is available, and it's shot right into the defender. What a moment, what a chance.
What a ball that was to the back post.
And now Henry's going to be onside. He was in his own defensive half, and Henry might be off to the races. Henry towards his left side, and excellent defending by Josiah Blanton to close it down. Back and forth we go, end-to-end stuff in the opening minute of the second half.
Was that just 50 seconds off the clock that both of those things happened?
And now here come the Dashing Eagles again with some more numbers forward. Schutz was ruled to not have gone through the back of the USVI attacker. It will be a free kick the other way. But what a chance. Just seconds after the second half whistle towards the back post. Seth Sidle had a lovely pass. The cross from the captain was inch perfect, and Joseph had to scramble towards his back post.
I mean, that cross was just perfect. I was so certain we were going to see the first goal for the Marshall Islands there, but they'll have to wait a little bit longer. That was just agonizingly close.
But what confidence that has to give these Marshallese players. Just seconds after the second half whistle to come ever so close to scoring their very first goal. You think about all of the firsts that this Marshall Islands team is going to accomplish over the course of this week. The first national anthem playing, the first game, the first time their names are called on a broadcast of an international match, and really the last first, besides first win, is the first goal. That's going to be a free kick for the Marshallese, and a yellow card as well. That will come against USVI. So in the 48th minute, a chance for a set piece for the Marshall Islands. And this will be something that they can draw up off of the training ground for this team that has only been together as a unit for all of 6 days. Being able to put together set pieces could be kind of that great equalizer opportunity. This is a very direct angle, which from this far out could make for some difficulty. It'll be Nigro standing over it. The former first team all-conference selection out of Monmouth University in New Jersey. It's a two-man wall for the USVI. Keep an eye on Zach Hill lining up around the edge of the 18-yard box towards the back post. Dave Nigro will chip it towards that back post. Blanton was making a run, but he couldn't quite catch up to it. That's the right idea. Blanton wasn't really being picked up by anyone wearing USVI gold, but pass was just overcooked a bit.
Yeah, he crossed over with another Marshallese player there, and he was free in the box if that ball could have been near him.
It has been wide open spaces in the first 3 minutes and 40 seconds of the second half. This will be a throw-in for the Marshall Islands. It is easy to be the prisoner of the moment, and I think that was a foul throw, as a matter of fact. Referee wanted to play advantage, and now we'll give the ball back to USVI. It's so easy to be a prisoner of the moment and see the 2-0 on the scoreboard and see the hill that the Marshall Islands still have to climb. But if you zoom out a little bit more, and you see the just header that would be difficult for any keeper in the world to stop from Joseph early on, and then the penalty coolly taken, being the only 2 goals, and with the Marshall Islands having the chances that they have had. A lot to build on.
Yeah, there have been so many positives that, I mean, that ball was inches away from being in the goal, so the chances have been there, and there's a lot of positives to build on here in the last 40 minutes of this match.
Here comes the Jett Blascka long throw on that side where you have forever to run up.
This is what caused the trouble in the first half.
Here comes the long throw. Initial header won by the Marshallese. Right back into the box it goes. Lovely turn from Ramos. Stops and starts and goes again. The Chattanooga Red Wolves product will have his cross cleared away for a corner kick. Opportunity for the Dashing Eagles now to draw something up. The air has been taken out of this crowd ever so slightly. It seemed as if that big chance right at the start of the second half, the crowd was just waiting for a big moment to cheer for, and that might have demoralized this bunch ever so slightly. It'll be an in-swinger off of the corner with the right foot. It goes towards the back post and quite deep. Header heads towards the middle of the box, and then it is cleared away from the immediate danger. Long run to push up from the Marshall Islands. Get themselves situated as the USVI can go again. Joseph. Over towards the left flank. The USVI will go. That's Matthew Roth, turning 21 years old today. What a weekend it's been for Joseph. A first half brace here today. Scored the winning penalty against Turks and Caicos, and now here come USVI again. Good save from Perrella. That was the new man introduced to the fold, Gabriel Cantone-Highfield for the U.S. Virgin Islands.
And those legs were fresh on that run. He just put it all on the line there. But
Cantone-Highfield scored in that 3-3 draw, the last result before the tie yesterday that the USVI were able to get against the Bahamas in CONCACAF Nations League. That was all the way back in September, nearly a full year ago. Here comes another corner off of the in-swinger. Roth will be the one to deliver it. This time it is right on the goal of Perrella, and he was able to parry it away. Roth trying to catch up before it goes out of play. He does just that. Matt Perrella has been one of the shining stars for the Marshallese. New Jersey native has been called to a lot of difficult saves.
I mean, multiple very, very difficult saves that he's had to make, and he's done an excellent job.
Ramos making the run down the left side. He will just be able to catch up to it to keep it from going out of play for a goal kick. Clearance only goes as far as Shabazz Henry. Roth with the outside of his boot. Clever turn from Ramos to draw the foul. Phelon didn't really have much of a choice. Sidle wearing the captain's armband will help up Ramos as Phelon sees a yellow card in the 54th minute. So Patrick Phelon along this defensive right side guarding Ramos is going to have to be careful the rest of the way. And a really good opportunity for Matthew Roth to whip a ball into a danger area. He does just that, and it's cleared away from the initial danger. And now an opportunity for Sidle to pick his head up. The pass didn't quite have enough behind it for the Marshallese to be off and running. That was Anitok who was furthest forward for the Marshallese. Long boots towards goal, and that does just go wide of Perrella, who could only wait and watch. Joseph on a hat trick, trying to get his third of the night.
I feel like the soccer version of a heat check. I mean, just letting it eat from, gosh, was he 30 yards out?
Easily. And so Perrella will be able to push the back line of the Marshall Islands further forward. He continues to try to urge the furthest players back to step higher and higher up the field. But USVI again will pick it up. Wave after wave of Dashing Eagle pressure after the Marshall Islands hit the post only seconds after the second half whistle. Brief interruption by the Marshall Islands defense, and now an opportunity for Henry, stinging the palms of Perrella, then he parries the rebound away. Oh, he was just able to deflect it from the oncoming Dashing Eagle. He spilled the rebound initially, and then was just able to redirect it into some open space, and only he knew where the ball was going next.
How calm and cool do you have to be to parry it like that with a player just barreling down on you like that? Brilliant from Matt Perrella. Even if he didn't catch the first clean, he knew exactly what to do.
Pass from Cullen Turanga, a little bit off of its intended trajectory. Had to wait for the second ball to be cleared off the field. And now Shabazz Henry will be able to toss the ball back in. Ramos has been the intended target for so much of what USVI has done on the left side. This will stay with the Dashing Eagles, who at this point are looking for a third that could salt this game away. defensive aerial work has been really impressive for the Marshall Islands ever since that early goal that was scored in the air from Joseph. First balls have been often won by the Marshallese in the air. And now an opportunity for the Marshall Islands to break. They're about 3 versus 5, so smart hold-up play to win the foul and allow the team that has been nicknamed the last team by some to get their numbers forward. There's been some discussions about a kind of official nickname a la Dashing Eagles. There's a player down in more serious news for the U.S. Virgin Islands in the middle of the field.
I think that'll happen organically.
It has
eventually.
to.
There will be a name that comes about that I think will that the players will love.
There's often discussion, not specifically across the Marshall Islands conversation, but around the world when you talk about these kinds of nicknames, about whether it should be in the native language of that country. La Albiciste, Argentinian blue and white. Right now, just stretching out that player who we cannot quite identify because his back is on the ground. Looks to be some sort of lower body situation. Physio is about halfway onto the field and now thankfully is being waved back over towards the sideline. That's Carmelo Rodriguez, who is back up on his feet. The goal scorer yesterday, able to thankfully shake it off and should be back to work.
And what a goal it was that he equalized with yesterday. Just a screamer from outside the box.
Decision time just about now for Terrence Jones of how long to leave these players on the field for, especially knowing that there is still one more game left to contest on Saturday. And it will be against a very quick Ozark United U19 side who we saw earlier on today score 3 in a 3-3 draw, then lose in the shootout to Turks and Caicos. Speaking of quick, long run from the player who was really impressed since coming on into the game, Cantone-Highfield. Terrence Jones has to be confident knowing he can put a player of his quality on the field for a second half, even if he does have to sub on. Argument could be made that this is the deepest of the 4 squads that have made the trip for this Outrigger Challenge Cup, this USVI squad. Not necessarily just in terms of the physical numbers, but in terms of the quality all the way up and down the bench.
I think I would agree.
Nigro looking to turn. He's got 2 or 3 jerseys around him. Tried to lay it off along the left flank. There was a player making a run. It looked like it was Schutz. Did go out for a Marshallese throw. Long throw in coming up along the left flank. Directs its way back towards the middle, and it's cleared by USVI. Again, Blanton looks to be some player. He couldn't quite keep that one going over the sideline for a USVI player, but Blanton looks to be the player that is entrusted to be the last defender back for Lloyd Orrs.
Yeah, Blanton just played some very high-level soccer, and you know he's 25. He played at James Madison for his whole collegiate career, so he's just almost a veteran, even though he's only 25, and not one of the oldest players, but very, very experienced.
An hour gone by, played his redshirt senior season last year. Of course, if you're familiar with college soccer in the United States, you know that players got the chance to play further and further along over the past couple of years because of the eligibility rules changed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Here comes another long throw for the USVI. Again, the header won by the Marshallese and the second ball to the USVI. Ramos around one defender, couldn't get around a second. And then the duel won by the Marshall Islands, and Hill tries to knock it along. Again, USVI able to read it and take it right back. Plenty of space to run onto, and Ramos might have some room to operate along the left. 1 versus 1, shirks his first defender, gets to the end line, gets around a second defender, cuts it towards the middle. Perrella's out of the net, and it's in the back of the net. It's a hat trick for Rakeem Joseph. And a night full of history for one side will perhaps be decided by a historic hat trick on the other. Rakeem Joseph, after scoring the winning penalty against Turks and Caicos last night, continues his run of form with 3 goals in an hour against the Marshallese.
And I know, the finish was excellent. Excellent from Rakeem Joseph. Ramos on the end line. He's beat several defenders. Just so strong. Just whips that ball in. Perrella was able to save the initial shot, but what a finish from Joseph, and what a job from Ramos.
That goal brought to you by B Hydrogen, the future of hydration. It is 3-0 in favor of the U.S. Virgin Islands here in the very first match that the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation ever contests. Expect to see more changes here. It looks like the U.S. Virgin Islands might be making another move to the bench. Again, 7 substitutions available in 3 windows are the match rules. And Rakeem Joseph's day is done. Withdrawn after scoring his 3rd goal of the night.
Take a seat and take a bow, young man. What a performance.
Carmelo Rodriguez will be the other player to give way. Remember, he picked up a knock earlier on in this second half, so an opportunity to take a little bit of a break. Brad Robinson is one of the 2 players we can tell you who has been introduced into this match, and we'll see if we can identify the second player. Robinson getting an opportunity here for the final 27-28 minutes of the night. Really call it a full half hour with stoppage time.
Ramos again.
Here he is one more time, and Perrella makes another excellent save. Matt Perrella has been up to the task tonight, as Roth is able to pick it back up. Lovely little spin move, and that one last went off of Roth. Tell you a little bit about Robinson. Has not spent much time with the senior team, has been a fixture in the U20 side for the USVI for quite a bit, but now 20 years of age, getting a run with the senior team here in the 2025 Outrigger Challenge Cup.
What a special night for him. Make your debut. Congratulations, Brad Robinson.
This is a moment that we talked about the Marshall Islands have been building towards, but for so many of these players for other nations, getting to pull on that senior team kit for the first time, for the 10th time, it does not get any less special, and is a culmination of all of the work that they do. And that is why there is so much pride associated with the international game, especially for quote-unquote smaller nations. Perrella will be content to watch that one go out of play. For teams that might, or for players that might be playing their club soccer in the lower leagues or in their native country's league, it might not be at the highest levels of Europe or South American soccer, but it does not get any less meaningful. It does not get any less full of pride. Whether it be the first time, or for players like Rakeem Joseph, the 17th, or for players like Jett Blascka, the 28th.
We'd just love to see what the Marshall Islands has in the bag here. 25 minutes of regulation to go here, plus stoppage time.
It has just been difficult to deal with who has at least so far been one of the best players to make the trip to Springdale, Joshua Ramos.
He is excellent, really is.
Rakeem Joseph with a hat trick, including a 3rd goal set up by the nifty footwork of Ramos. See what the Marshallese can build out from the back here. Sprung forward in the direction of John. Matt John, who was onto the field, told his story earlier on. Really a great microcosm of what this entire event means for the Marshallese as a whole.
And just such a fun guy to be around. Yeah. You can tell he loves the game of soccer. He grew up in this area as well. And
this ball is clipped. We'll get back to that in a second as the header from Henry is right into the gut of Perrella. We are told that Matt John is 1/4 of a Marshallese boy band entitled Mark Harmony. Opportunity to get some numbers forward. And a loose pass in the back could be taken away by John. He leaves it. And a shot comes in, deflected away towards the edge of the 18-yard box. Still might be an opportunity. Long shot from distance is up and over the bar. That was off the foot of Gabino Gallegos, who said, why not have a strike from just over 20 yards out?
Yeah, and you know, a little bit of life here out of the Marshallese. They had an opportunity there. A good first touch, and I honestly, I don't mind the go from distance there. Why not?
Unfortunately, Shabazz Henry is down now for USVI, and they're going to have to take a look at him. Shabazz Henry's been excellent, whether it be yesterday or today. Yesterday he was in more of a wingback role, bombing up and down the left side. Today he stayed a little bit more at home defensively. And it looks like he is going to be substituted out of this match. If nothing else for Terrence Jones, better safe than sorry for a player who's played, do the math, about 160 minutes just about over the course of 24 hours. But before the substitution will be made, we will hit our second half cooling break. It is still very warm, even though we are playing under the lights and nearing 10 p.m. here in Springdale. Temperature still in the 80s, and it is, of course, quite humid, of course, as we get later on in the night. Substitution that will be coming on. We can confirm Shabazz Henry will be exiting the game.
I think we need to talk. We were interrupted by a goal there. I think we need to talk about Matt John's musical prowess a little bit more. I have heard the boy can sing. Our sources are telling us that he can indeed sing.
Well, I've heard tell about the Marshallese players are all staying, I should say, excuse me, at the same kind of complex together in different rooms, but they have kind of an HQ building where they get together. There's a ping pong table. I've been told, some extremely competitive matches of FIFA that have gone on television, and there's been also some karaoke opportunities. And apparently Matt John has stolen the show, as you might expect.
I'm sure, yeah. You know, I know Mark Harmony has played a couple of shows. There's a park pretty close to here where the city puts on a lot of community events. I know Mark Harmony has played at least one of those. I think they've maybe played it a couple of times. So I might have to find out the next time Mark Harmony is running a show downtown.
They are, it should be noted, on Spotify.
Why aren't we playing it during this break here? I feel like we could inject
Yeah, we've
some
continued
Mark,
to build the broadcast up day by day.
Saturday might include a cameo from Mark Harmony. You never know.
That's what we call in the broadcast business a tease for the future. But if nothing else, in all seriousness, just a tremendous story for Matt John. And just about every single one of these Marshallese players has a story worth telling. Here's Ramos on the ball again. His story has just been one of excellence. Cut back towards the middle. Perrella comes out of his net. It is still loose. Perrella can't get to it a second time, and a block put in by the Marshallese defense to bail out the goalkeeper, Perrella.
What a job from Josiah Blanton.
And now a opportunity to press the back line for John, who was full of running. But there's there are two Marshallese players down. Actually, it's one of either side, I should correct myself. Perrella remains down after the collision. And I believe that's Henry, who is slow to get up too. Out of your picture back behind the play. The backup keeper for the Marshall Islands is 43-year-old Jonathan Kohler.
I mean, Perrella putting his body on the line to stop that shot, and the ball was still loose in the area, and Josiah Blanton with the body block to prevent the goal. What a job from him.
Henry is going to be withdrawn from this match again for Terrence Jones. There's simply no use in trying to tell a player to keep going through a knock, especially having played less than 24 hours earlier. So Henry's day is done. His speed continued to give the Marshall Islands defenders fits throughout the night. It will be a drop ball that Joseph will be able to take. That is now Connor Bass, whose name we thought we were going to call earlier, number 15, who has now entered the fray for the USVI. Who is, if our information that we were given was correct, all of 16 years of age.
Ben, what were you doing at age 16? Were you
Not this. If we're, in fact, being real, I was probably playing clarinet most of the time.
We all have our own talents.
I don't think I would have been accepted into Mark Harmony, I'll tell you that, with my clarinet playing abilities. Bass playing for Queen City Mutiny FC. Which is part of the MLS Next setup in Charlotte, North Carolina. Exciting new thing that they're building up in Charlotte behind John Texter's Charlotte FC. Here come the USVI again. Around one move and a second. And Blanton will smartly let it go out of play, ushering it beyond the goal line. Into the final 20 minutes if you include what we assume will be a healthy amount of stoppage time. 3 goals, all of them from Rakeem Joseph, player who had 2 national team goals entering tonight in official competitions.
I mean, what a performance from him.
He scored in 3 different ways as well. Not quite a natural hat trick. He scored 2 with his right foot, I believe, but 2 goals scored, 1 in the run of play, 1 from a header, and then 1 penalty.
I'll say before that ball went out of play just now, that was a really good idea from the Marshall Islands down that left flank. They haven't really tried to unleash anyone down the flank here in a while. I'd like to see them go back to that.
In case you weren't with us before for that Turks and Caicos versus Ozark United match, it's worth talking about the trophy that will be given to the player of the match, the man of the match. Here comes Ramos again with a shot that just went wide. Oh, that was inches away from the right post from making it 4-0. And Perrella happy to see that one go wide as it fizzed with some authority behind it.
Ramos is unbelievable. I am just amazed when he is on the ball.
Now going back to that conversation, we fully expect the man of the match to be the man who has scored 3 goals tonight. Foul will go to RMI. Rakeem Joseph is the player in pole position to win the man of the match trophy, which for these matches involving the Marshall Islands will be a Rebellibe, which is a traditional navigational stick chart native to the Marshall Islands. Got a chance to see them earlier on today at that HQ building was discussing. They are absolutely breathtaking, especially when you consider the history and the meaning behind them. Often famously guarded family secrets throughout Marshallese communities, passed down from generation to generation, a master to apprentice. And for us to be able to see those and have those be the trophies displayed, just yet another nod to the tremendous Marshallese culture that is being put on full display and is being celebrated here this week. Ramos making it look easy. Maradona turn and then a long switch of play. Couldn't quite find Bass on the end of it. Blanton trying to send it back for Perrella, who has some work to do. Got just a touch to it. He's well off of his net, and it is in the end picked up by Nigro, who was able to get on the end of it. It will go out of play, and it will be a goal kick.
We've talked so much about Ramos. It is honestly very surprising to me that he has never scored an international goal.
He has been in the role of facilitator more than anything else.
This is his 10th cap, and I'm sure he's really seeking that first international goal. And of course, he was just inches away just now.
Substitution for the Marshall Islands. Folliet Schutz is coming off the field. We'll see if we can identify who has replaced him. that left flank. In the meantime, though, long run for Vinay Kumar to try to make. Kumar is going into a college scholarship with Williams Baptist University on the field now. Born in Majuro, moved to the U.S. age 4.
Great school over in kind of the eastern side of the state.
One of the players who has received those player sponsorships, Paul Dubberly sponsoring Vinay Kumar. It's one of a number of people who have made this happen for the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. We've been talking ad nauseum about the collective effort, the village that it has taken to get this show on the road. And just the very start of what is a future that is kind of almost hard to fully come into picture yet, but you know is continuing to be built for the Marshall Islands. Blanton back to Perrella it goes. Edejer. Looping it long, wasn't quite on the same page as Kumar. US Virgin Islands won't be in any sort of hurry. They would love to just kind of grind this game to a halt and take their 3-0 win back on the bus with them. Free kick will go the way of the Marshallese.
Feels like they've done that a little bit. They've definitely dictated the pace of this game here in this second half, and I mean, they're up 3-0 to show for it.
It'll work its way to the man wearing the captain's armband, Seth Sidle, whipping one in towards the back post. Joseph goes up to claim. He did have Matt John making the run. And now here come the USVI with speed. Opportunity for them to get numbers forward again. It's 4 versus 4, and importantly knocking the ball out of play by the Marshall Islands just to be able to get some numbers back defensively.
You know, Matt John has been a little bit of a spark plug since he came on. He's put himself in some decent positions to try and give the Marshallese an opportunity.
Cantone-Highfield making some things happen, cutting towards the end line, and in the end, off of a planted foot from the defender, it will work its way back to Perrella. From the outside looking in, on your very first match ever, there are always some concerns that a team that was fielded and met for the first time 6 days ago, to be quite frank, there are always concerns that team can be run out of the building. Now, those concerns were not met with that same kind of worry from inside the Marshallese camp, but from the outside looking in, it could be forgiven for thinking there are some players who come from futsal backgrounds. There are players who have never played together, and a bit of a worry that this could get ugly. That has not been the case at all today.
Yeah, and you can tell they haven't been deflated by these 3 USVI girls. Still really, every single one of them are really putting a shift in here. Against some really good players. Joshua Ramos plays in USL League 1. That is very high level here in the States. And some of these Marshallese players coming from futsal backgrounds, they need to play against a player like Ramos, who on the ball now on the edge of the area.
See what Ramos can engineer here, cutting towards the end line. Again, back towards the middle. It is still loose. Perrella can't get there, and it's a 4th. Joshua Ramos cutting to the end line along the left side one more time, able to make more things happen. And it is 4-0 in favor of the U.S. Virgin Islands.
I mean, Ramos he does everything. When he is on the ball, it is dangerous, and it is hidden goals multiple times. He's just so excellent.
There were a melee of players along that back post with Perrella out of his cage. I believe it was Cantone-Highfield who got on the end of it. But it is the 4th goal for the USVI. And the Marshall Islands will have to go again. That 4th goal for USVI, brought to you by our sponsor, Be Hydration. These fans urging their team to go again, still in very full voice. And Ramos will exit the game, stage left. You would imagine that Joseph will win man of the match. A hat trick is hard to dethrone, but so much of what the USVI does runs through Joshua Ramos.
Oh, that's 2 nights in a row. Joshua Ramos has been cheated out of a Man of the Match award, Ben. He was unbelievable last night and outshined only by a just otherworldly goalkeeping performance on the other side. Tonight outshined by a hat trick by his teammate, which he had a lot to do with.
Can confirm it was, in fact, Gabriel Cantone-Highfield who scored that 4th goal for the U.S. Virgin Islands. His first goal in nearly a calendar year for his country. And making his head coach certainly look good. Terrence Jones put him in as a substitute, and Cantone-Highfield has been excellent. Now here come the Marshallese. All the way back it goes to the back line of Blanton.
About 8 minutes and then some stoppage time here, Ben. Gosh, I would love to see it. Would love to see a goal for the Marshall Islands here.
The fans have been on the front edge of their seat whenever the Marshallese possess and enter the attacking third. Best chance of the night came about 30 seconds after the start of the second half. A header that just went onto the outside of the post, might have been pushed onto the post. Now here's an opportunity for Nigro. As a couple of players in front of him gets taken out, and they will call a foul and a free kick here for the Marshall Islands. Not far away from the edge of the 18-yard box. And this is a real good opportunity to put the ball in a danger area. There will be plenty forward for the Marshallese. 7. It will be either in the box or just outside of it. Only one man part of the wall for the USVI. Blanton, with all of his height, is forward. Here comes the ball, whipped in towards the back post. It is just over the crossbar. Bit deflating to not give your team an opportunity to get on the end of it, as that one just was overcooked.
I think you did just carry just a little bit on Schriver there, and
you have to wonder how much the adrenaline of the moment plays a factor in that. There have been a couple of those set pieces that have just been a little overhit for the Marshallese. Knowing that standing over any ball in a dangerous threat could be that moment that will go down in Marshall Islands Soccer Federation history forever. But they certainly have already etched themselves into the history books tonight, no doubt about that.
Now, I'm so curious as to, I know we're looking ahead a little bit, I'm so curious as to how the Marshall Islands will match up with Turks and Caicos on Saturday. Just such a different style than what USVI has played here tonight. So, you know, Lloyd Owers and his staff will go in, they'll cook up a little bit tomorrow and try to decide the best way to play it. But I'm very, very intrigued by that matchup on Saturday afternoon.
USVI a little bit more run and gun than Turks and Caicos, who are usually, at least from what we can tell in the first 2 matches, more content to sit back and absorb the pressure of the opposition and then hit on the counter, which is also what the Marshallese have been trying to do. So that will be a very interesting matchup. That will be Saturday at 1 p.m. local time, Central Time here. The USVI look for a 5th. Along the left flank it goes. Chip towards the back post. I believe that went over the end line. It did. And it'll be a goal kick. At least from what we can tell, is there will be a substitution here for the Marshall Islands. It seems as though, no disrespect to Turks and Caicos, who play their style extremely well, but just from a tactical style standpoint, the Turks and Caicos style might suit the way the Marshall Islands plays a bit better than USVI.
Yeah.
It is more of a collective effort for Turks and Caicos. USVI have been happy to let their playmakers like Ramos and Henry and Joseph get on the end of long runs.
I believe it may be Danny Razuk who is subbing on here.
It is indeed number 5. Aged 39 years of age. There are players on the field who are as young as 18 and are as old as 39 now. Such is the way that this Marshall Islands Soccer Federation squad has been built.
So do you think when Danny moved to the Marshall Islands in 1988, do you think he thought he would ever get to suit up for the Marshall Islands national team?
Moved there as just an infant, 2 or 3 years old. And now able to not only put on the jersey of his country, but to be able to see minutes on the field in their first ever game. If nothing else, a wonderful gesture from Lloyd Owers to get a player who's been the heartbeat of so much of Marshallese soccer a moment. Here comes a moment for Matt John. It's closed down brilliantly. Oh, Matt John was nearly away, and it was closed down in a hurry by USVI. That's Quinn Farrell, who was able to do the work for the Dashing Eagles. Heart rate a little bit risen for some of the Marshallese fans who saw a 1v1 opportunity.
I think it rose for me a little bit there. I thought Matt might get on the end of that one and have an opportunity.
It's been the best foray forward in some time for the Marshallese.
Well, that was a really good ball forward.
Joseph will be content to play it around in the back. 3 minutes until the 90 plus stoppage time. Razuk unable to get on the end of a tackle. Good retreating.
It's a good tackle
from Edejer to be able to keep that one from getting any worse. Perrella again able to collect one more time. Quick word on Matt Perrella. Usually keepers on the wrong end of a 4-0 scoreline will chalk it up to not their best match, but Perrella has been absolutely sensational. He has made some terrific saves, and we knew coming into this match that the keeper was going to have to play a big part, and he certainly has risen to the challenge. Perrella should leave that net after the 90 minutes are up with his head held awfully high.
I think his team maybe should carry him off of it, carry him off the field from the post. He has played so hard. He's put his body on the line so many times. Made some excellent saves.
Is there a moment to remember left in the 90 plus stoppage time for the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation today? Nice little turnaround from Gallegos, but we'll stop play as there is a USVI player down.
Roth who hit the deck here.
There is a hockey line change getting prepped for the Marshall Islands. I believe 4 substitutions are going to be made at the next available opportunity. I believe the 4th official might allow them to happen now. We are not in a spot in which we would normally be allowed to substitute with the ball live, but it looks like we will have the opportunity to do just that. It'll be at the end of the day for Edejer and for Blanton, as well as for Lucas Schriver. And it looks like for Cullen Turanga as well.
I'm really glad to see Lloyd Owers get as many of his players in as possible. Let them experience this.
Looks like we can confirm that, as expected, the man of the match will be the man with the hat trick, Rakeem Joseph. We are into stoppage time. You're in a 4-0 advantage for the U.S. Virgin Islands, who, if you look back and kind of zoom out a bit to the Outrigger Challenge Cup in general, are set to go top of the table with 4 points. And with the head-to-head tiebreaker already over the Turks and Caicos, would clinch the 2025 Outrigger Challenge Cup. That has kind of been the secondary story to just telling the story of the Marshall Islands in general. But after the 1-1 draw, with Ozark United points not eligible, even if Turks and Caicos wins, it will be just about that, and that is the final whistle. The U.S. Virgin Islands with a 4-0 victory And they get themselves their 4th points with the head-to-head tiebreaker in the driver's seat for the 2025 Outrigger Challenge Cup. But that is the sub-headline to the 90 minutes that the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation has been working towards for nearly 3 years. A performance that sees the Marshallese fall by the score of 4-0. A goal nearly 3 minutes in from Rakeem Joseph. He scored again from the penalty spot just before halftime. And then 2 second-half goals, one from Joseph and one from the substitute, Gabriel Cantone-Highfield, give the USVI a 4-0 win. We'll get to the Marshallese in just a moment. We should talk about Terrence Jones and this U.S. Virgin Islands squad. A comprehensive, impressive victory, meeting a very emotional scene with the professionalism that Terrence Jones has been instilling in this group, and a deserved 4-0 result for that.
Yeah, and they didn't let the magnitude of this moment with the Marshall Islands, as we see the Marshallese coming off of the pitch and applauding the fans, deservedly so. The United States Virgin Islands did not let the magnitude of the moment get in the way of doing the business that they had to do. So this is quite a scene here, though, as we get to see these Marshallese players acknowledging the fans who supported them in their first ever international game.
A phenomenal scene, an emotional scene for those who are in attendance, getting down to the front row. The smiles on the faces of the Marshallese, you could hardly tell that they are the ones on the wrong end of the 4-0 scoreline, and that is to be deserved. This is a celebration of the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Lloyd Owers is over, clapping the fans who have made their way down to the front railing to salute, a word that has been thrown around a lot recently to describe these Marshallese squad. They're heroes. Credit to the U.S. Virgin Islands squad for coming over as well and clapping off the fans, both wearing U.S. Virgin Island colors and the Marshallese as well. A couple of USVI flags being flown. And I think that one of the USVI players just gave a bit of memorabilia to one of the fans flying a USVI flag. Great day for the Virgin Islands fans as well, to see their team be able to pick up a victory. For the U.S. Virgin Islands, the wins have been few and far between just because the matches have been few and far between. Not a squad that gets to play too many times, and this, the first win for the Dashing Eagles since June the 6th of 2022, when they beat Turks and Caicos in the CONCACAF Nations League. But the main story is the very first match for the very last team. The Marshall Islands Soccer Federation is truly up and running. Did not get the goal that they were hoping for. Another 90 minutes, less than 48 hours from now, against Turks and Caicos, what should be just a really intriguing match from a tactical soccer standpoint, as well as kind of an opportunity to set the emotions aside a little bit. Match number 2 will be easier than match number 1, you'd imagine, for this group, having played a full 90 minutes together, having met less than a week ago altogether. Talked about the USVI and their 4 goals. Rakeem Joseph was absolutely tremendous. Joshua Ramos, I think it's safe to say, is the best player at the Outrigger Challenge Cup.
He's got a fan in me, I'll be completely honest.
So we don't in any way want to take away from what USVI have done, and we are just awaiting the mathematical confirmation on the tiebreakers that they have won this competition. But we should also make sure that we discuss the Marshall Islands, and we'll be on the air for a few minutes more to make sure that we do just that. We are just kind of awaiting confirmation on all of the housekeeping business. But we can confirm the tiebreakers used to decide ranking. Number 1 is the head-to-head tiebreaker, including the penalty shootout, which the U.S. Virgin Islands has over Turks and Caicos. Turks and Caicos has the opportunity to get points tomorrow, even if they do so, and the USVI and Turks and Caicos are tied on 4 points each. It will be the Dashing Eagles who are the winners of the 2025 Outrigger Challenge Cup. Congratulations to Terrence Jones and this entire squad. We mentioned this was not only a huge opportunity for the Marshall Islands to get a game in and to get started with this federation project, but for these other confederations and these other federations, I should say, to lift a trophy. And Terrence Jones and the Dashing Eagles are going to be able to do so tomorrow, or Saturday, I should say.
Just congratulations. Get to take some hardware back to the Virgin Islands with them, but you don't just see players just linger on the sideline like they are right now. I mean, they have applauded these fans. There's a lot of hugs being shared. Lloyd Owers walked over with the biggest smile on his face, just a massive smile. They know what they've accomplished, and scoreline not in their favor. It's hard to care at this moment in time. They'll get another crack at that first elusive goal on Saturday afternoon. They were mere inches away from putting one home early in the second half here this evening.
Yeah, we certainly do not want to disrespect USVI in any way when we turn our attention back to the Marshall Islands, as we're going to do now. The smiles on the face that we can see from up here in the press box down on field level are immense for the Marshall Islands. There are hugs all around. And I think a good way to fairly state the performance for the Marshall Islands, a very competent result for them. They were in no means whatsoever run off the field tonight. Two tremendous players in Rakeem Joseph and Joshua Ramos undid the defense a handful of times. Matt Perrella was absolutely tremendous. And there was so much to build on for this Marshall Islands squad. I think I was looking at this from a neutral perspective that is contracted out with the Marshall Islands to help out with this volunteer basis as well. I think the only thing that could have possibly dampened the spirits in terms of an on-field performance was a scoreline that got out of hand, a scoreline that you'd have to look 3 or 4 times at. 4-0 is certainly not that.
And it was a multiple just otherworldly touches from Joshua Ramos, who, again, we've said it multiple times, he does play professionally here in the United States, and he was a part of a very good collegiate program. He's a really, really class player, and it took that for the scoreline to end up how it did.
But for the Marshall Islands, they are hand in hand to salute these fans. Everyone making sure that everybody gets over. The birthday boy, Aaron Anitok-Brokken, the last to go over, and they will all support the Marshall Islands support that has come here to Springdale and Jarrell Williams Bulldog Stadium. A scene that doesn't make us want to go off the air. We just want to take in all of these moments. And huge congratulations are in order for everybody who has been a part of the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Carter, your final thoughts on a night that has been quite literally years in the making.
Just a joyous night.
Yeah,
really is for the soccer world, for the Marshall Islands. Just a wonderful night. Scoreline, hard to care.
Yeah,
really is. And just congratulations to the Virgin Islands on their performance. They were just a class team this evening, and even bigger congratulations to these players of this Marshall Islands side.
Well, that is going to be just about that for us. We will see you again on Saturday. Another doubleheader. We are only just about a little bit past the halfway point of this Outrigger Challenge Cup that has already given us moments that will last a lifetime. They are taking their squad picture downstairs, a moment that will forever be remembered for the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. For Carter Henson, our entire crew that has made today happen over the course of the day, over the course of the week, over the course of the last 3 years. My name's Ben Curtis, saying so long and see you real soon. 1 o'clock local time Saturday for the Marshall Islands against Turks and Caicos, 6 a.m. back in Majuro and wherever else you might be. We hope you join us for that. So long, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday night.